Are you dreading your next home repair? Don't. Crew Pros is your one-call solution for everything your home needs. Whether it's heating and air, plumbing, complete roof replacement, whole home generators, and electrical repairs. Our professionals get the job done right. Crew Pros is your single source for high-quality home services at affordable prices. For everything your home needs, Crew Pros. Remodel, repair, replace.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eyes no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
Grizz Nation, what's good? What's going on? Welcome to another wonderful episode of Grizz 901. It is a Tuesday, so you know what we're doing. We're talking Grizzlies basketball, and we've got a great one for you this Tuesday afternoon or evening. We'd like to thank you for tuning in, however you may be listening, however you may be watching. Welcome to Grizz 901 on the Bluff City Media Network, and we are brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. All right, now we had a very eventful past few weeks in the basketball world. You know, normally this is not a very basketball heavy time, but we've got some great things going on. We've got Grizzlies basketball in the FIBA World Cup, the FIBA tournament that just kicked off this past week, and we've got two Grizzlies representing the USA, Jaren Jackson Jr., and on Spain, Santi Aldama. So a little quick recap before we get to our very special guest of the day today. The Team USA started off their FIBA World Cup group play against New Zealand. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 12 points, was a perfect 4 for 4 from the field with 4 rebounds. Unfortunately, he did foul out in that game early in the fourth quarter. And then USA versus Greece, JJJ again had another great defensive game. 9 points, 2 out of 3 field goals, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Foul trouble was an issue, although he did play that in the entire part of that game. And look, throughout these 2 games, I think there's been some chatter that Jaren Jackson Jr.'s foul issues are somehow coming to the forefront. And look, Jaren's playing a new game. I understand that. I understand that. Yeah, he fouled out in the first game and had some foul trouble in the second game. But I think there's something to be understood that Jaren is like the de facto big for Team USA, playing in an entirely new game. And I've heard on the Hoop Collective podcast and many other of these basketball podcasts that this is going to be an issue for Jaren throughout the tournament. Can Team USA depend on Jaren? And I really would like to push back on a lot of those narratives here that Jaren's foul trouble is going to somehow inhibit or be a barrier to Team USA. I think, like many other players on this team, Jaren is learning a new brand of basketball, especially in this FIBA World Cup tournament where, okay, these refs are not swallowing their whistles, okay? Any form of contact, they're blowing the whistle. And Jaren just needs to learn how to play in this new style of basketball. Anthony Edwards himself said regarding JJJ's fouling, we get onto him all the time. He's super important. He might be the most important piece, actually. So this is something that Team USA is working on. Fully expect this to not be an issue really moving forward and for Jaren to improve on these things. But great start for Team USA and Jaren Jackson Jr., who's clearly become that defensive anchor of the team. Team USA's next game is tomorrow at 3:30 Central, Wednesday. They'll be playing Jordan, headlined by Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, who, former NBA veteran who is now channeling his inner Kobe for Jordan. So should be a great matchup. It's going to be 1:30 for me. I don't know if I'm tuning in for that, but should be a great game. And then I'll briefly mention Spain. Santi Aldama been doing wonderful things too. First game against Ivory Coast, 8 points, 5 rebounds. Then against Brazil, leading scorer, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. So the Grizzlies are very well represented at the FIBA World Cup tournament. And it's looking up to be a very good tournament. All these teams very competitive. Should be a great matchup moving forward. But without further ado, I'd like to present today's guest on Grizz 901, a very special guest. This is someone who is a legend in the Memphis community, is truly doing wonderful things for sports worldwide. Currently works for social at Bleacher Report, but you may know her from her first moniker, which was Made in Memphis. But now she is the great Molly Morrison. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Molly Morrison onto the show. Molly, how are you doing today?
Oh wow, I'm good. How are you, Brandon? That was so sweet. I love the theme song you got going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Molly, this is incredible. For those of you guys who may not know, a little fun fact: Molly and I actually went to high school together. We were in the same graduating class. So this is kind of tripping me out right now.
Right?
I'm actually on a podcast with her. Like this is kind of crazy.
Y'all,
Molly, how are you?
I'm good. You hype me up, so now I have to hype you up. Brandon over here, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you were our freshman year class president.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Yes. He was the president at White Station High School. Go Spartans. We were what's the word for people who go to school together? We were classmates.
We were classmates.
Yeah.
Big school, right? Like I think we went to a huge school. I think our graduating class was like over 1,000 people. So, it's just crazy kind of seeing, like, I remember I was in college at North Carolina when that story of yours, with the Made in Memphis account, and you made national headlines. And I was just telling everybody, I know that girl. Yeah. Like, I know that girl. She's famous. Like, I went to high school with her. But Molly, thank you so much for coming on and just taking time out of your busy schedule and your New York City life to come on to this show. I really appreciate it.
Listen, I am always going to make time for my Memphis people, my White Station people. But for real, you've been killing it as well. I've really enjoyed seeing you venture out into the sports space. I love seeing your tweets come up on my timeline. It's really cool. You're like the only other person I see from our class doing that stuff. So you're killing it as well. But I really appreciate all of the kind words. Did you know about Made in Memphis in high school?
I didn't have like a Twitter. I didn't venture into the Twitterverse until college. I mainly knew from like my local news that you were doing these things. Like I saw a story. You had a story on like ABC, like Action News 5, all those things. That's how I mainly learned. And then after that, like I started following like your in-game coverage and everything there. So that's how I got formally introduced.
I meant, did you know, like, because I told, like, it was funny because it was this huge secret, but at the same time, like, some of our teachers knew, a lot of our peers knew. I was pretty open about it, so I'm surprised it never got around to. I feel like Hannah Montana, when she told everyone, like, hey guys, like, don't tell my secret, and they actually listened. Like, that's, I guess, how it went. I mean, again, that being said, I never thought people would actually really care, but I was proud of it. I was like, guys, look at this page I'm doing. I've racked up 8,000 followers. I'm the sports analyst. So yeah, I was definitely excited to share with my peers at the time.
So I have a question about that, and you making that account. What kind of sparked that? Like, what inspired you to just kind of create this? I guess you can call it like persona of sorts. But what inspired all that?
Yeah, I really fell in love with the Grizzlies in middle school. I mean, it was grit and grind. Everyone was in love with the Grizzlies, and I always tell people the way I loved the Grizzlies and the way I wanted to talk about the Grizzlies was as though you would see like a One Direction stan account, a Taylor Swift stan account. It was very much like, OMG, look at Quincy Pondexter's dog. OMG, like John Lure. Yeah, like it was not, breakdown and analysis. But at the same time, that's not, even though now, so many years later, I know so much more about the game, I've kind of found that, yes, I like to think my content and coverage has gotten better, but also like, that's not my thing. I still, even to this day, I find that I love sports not for, although I do love the stats, there are so many people out there who provide that. So I think like just in building, I'm kind of segueing away from your question, but in continuing to, be in this space, I've really found such a fun niche where I can kind of combine the personality content with the NBA content, because there are so many people who want that and want to talk about basketball in a fun way, and not necessarily just like, oh, look at these plus minuses. But yeah, when I decided I wanted to do Made in Memphis was in middle school. My friends were like, Molly, we love you. Please stop tweeting about the Grizzlies 20 times every game. And I was like, so fair, guys. So I started this Grizzlies account in the Huey's parking lot after dinner with my family. And that was the start of it all. Yeah.
So and by the way, if Molly on Bleacher Report, if you have not seen her coverage or her take of the NBA head coaching chair cycle that we had this past season, so what you did was you likened it to kind of a bachelorette kind of episode. That was absolutely gold. Absolutely check that out.
Thank you.
But how has it changed now? Because now you're at Bleacher Report and you're really covering the entire NBA at this point, right? And doing social content for them. So how does it feel to kind of shift in, I wouldn't say like a different direction, but you're kind of going more from not just the Grizzlies, but the NBA as a whole. What has that journey been like?
Yeah, it really, so when I did tell everyone about Made in Memphis, what I didn't expect was people to sort of take interest in Molly Morrison. I was like, wait, I just thought you guys were like, oh, this is who you are, cool. But I started to, slowly pick up followers on my personal account. And there I tweeted the things that I wasn't going to tweet on Made in Memphis, right? So things about the NBA, because really, like, I was becoming a huge NBA fan that same time, definitely not as intensely, but it just happened. Like, as I watched these playoff battles, as I saw the storylines, as I remember watching LeBron James playing for the Miami Heat, dunking right in front of my face in the FedEx Forum, I thought that was a superhero. Like, I really fell in love with all of it. So now, sort of being in this position where I do talk about it on, a bigger platform, I look at it as like, this is such a cool extension of my fandom, but also like, instead of, there's nothing wrong. There's so many people who are talented and stay in their team, right? Like, this is what I want to do. I love this team. I want to cover them. I sort of see it as an opportunity. Like, I continue to go on and cover the league, and like, I bring Memphis with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you noticed my bosses, hopefully they don't hear me say this, but like, I definitely like show love to the Grizzlies when I get a chance. Nothing that's bad content, nothing crazy, but I definitely do like that I can, in this position, shine light on a team that I love. And really, like, that's a really cool feeling, being able to like sort of put things in front of people's faces, like about like today I posted these photos of Ja Morant. I don't know if you saw his photographer. I am blanking on his name, but I wish I could remember it so I can give him a shout out. But he took some photos of Ja in those t-shirts that were like accountability. That's all I remember. Whatever. It was some great messages on Ja shirts. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this out on Bleacher Report. And in my career, like, numbers matter, right? You look at numbers, and the numbers were really positive. The post had great numbers, and I'm like, that's cool. I got to post a positive thing about Ja Morant today. So yeah, I think that like my love for the Grizzlies and my identification with the Grizzlies will never change. Like, that's not what got me here. Like, what got me here is my passion, and is the fact that I have always exhibited this fan voice. So yeah, I think that like it doesn't go away. It's just sort of expands, and it allows me to bring that with me.
Let me ask, in the Bleacher Report headquarters, are you the only Grizzlies loyalist there? Are you a one woman army?
I am. Yes. And you don't know how many times, like, it was a rough, those playoff months and the months following, those were rough because, you see people, hi, how are you? How do you feel about Ja? And it's like, come
Yeah.
on, if someone asks me this question one more time. So it's really interesting, being somewhere where you don't turn the corner and see a grit and grind shirt, right? But I'm doing what I can. I'm spreading the love. I'm spreading the agenda, and it's definitely, interesting. But of course, like, I will always, want to like come to my people, my Grizzlies fans, because there aren't a lot of us here. So yeah.
I think it's something truly special, right? That Memphis is a small market, right? Like the Memphis Grizzlies are not a team that the casual, I hate saying that word casual, but like they're not a team that like your typical like just casual watcher of the NBA would
Mhm.
say like they know a lot about. So I think it's truly special that you're someone who is rooted in the city, really has that massive following in the city, and are now in this huge media market, one of the leading faces in sports, really showing your love for the Grizzlies and bringing them to a bigger scale. I think that's truly special and truly amazing to have, and just
Thank you.
power to you with that.
Thank you. But I will say, like, yes, like, oh, yes, I'm doing this. But at the same time, like, I so acknowledge that, like, I wouldn't be here without the Grizzlies, right? Like, and
Mhm.
not just the Grizzlies, but the love from Memphis. Like, that love, you said, it was a national story. It poked into national realms, but really it was a local story. It was a big local story. And just the love that I felt, like, still that I feel when I go to the FedEx Forum, it's honestly like I just it's unimaginable, and it just feels so special because for so many years I was doing this not behind my own name, thinking that people would discard it if they knew, and like really it just showing that, just proved that Memphis doesn't care about those things. Memphis loves its own, Memphis loves who speaks for them, Memphis loves who shows us love. So yeah, I think that everyone from there really just has an understanding, and it's really been special to see so many people like support me on this journey. And I'll never like, yeah, like it's, yes, like, oh, but it's mutual, right? It's a mutual love. Like, I'll always carry Memphis with me, and I know that I get that love back from a lot of people, so it really means a lot.
Yeah. Just seeing the comments in here, just pretty much affirming what I say. You have fans all around the country, Oklahoma and Arkansas. Shout out.
Hey
But
guys.
um, talking about the Grizz, talking about our home and our first love, which is the sport.
Right.
How do you feel about really everything this new? I think when I was on here a couple of weeks ago, Luke Hatmaker, he called this a period of transition. Right, we have some new faces coming on. Marcus Smart coming onto the team, not essentially like replacing Dylan Brooks, but Dylan Brooks is in Houston now. Tyus Jones, that steady point guard presence for the Grizzlies on the Washington Wizards, and Derrick Rose is on the team now. He shout out, just played for the Knicks, right? Came from New York to Memphis. But how do you feel about this new version of the Grizzlies that's going to, take center stage without their franchise point guard coming into this new season? How do you feel about this new age of the Memphis Grizzlies?
Yeah, such a complex question, right? But let's get right into it. How do I feel about this Grizzlies team? I feel as though right now, where we are at, we're entering this, upcoming season. There has never been more uncertainty and more up in the air in the last few years since we have had this core, right? It's not a horribly bad thing. It's not a great thing. I think what we're going to see right now is the consequences of Zach Lyman getting really excited about youth and really buying into youth. So he admitted that, he admitted that he might have taken it a little far, right?
Yeah.
Trading Melton, trading Anderson for, Zaire would turn into all these picks, right? Laravia, Roddy. There's no confirmation that any of these guys aren't going to be great, right? But there's also no confirmation that they are. I think that this season we have a really big hole, which is there's only 5 or 6 guys that we're certain are pieces of our core, right? We have a 10-man rotation. That's what we typically run with. There's only 5. Maybe if we're being generous, I'll include Santi. I'll give Santi the 6 because I really, you were mentioning FIBA earlier. I do like what I see. I've liked what I've seen from him. He's so young and he has a lot of upside, I do think. But it's a weird time, right? We have the jaw suspension. The jaw suspension, though, is honestly the least of our concerns at the moment because it's just weird. So I'm like trying to answer this. Let me know if you like have any more questions that come up. I'm just sitting here like a therapy session, letting out.
This is event session. We're letting everything out, like all of our feelings, like what the Grizzlies are kind of becoming now. Because in a lot of ways, like there's a lot of positive things, right? We're seeing the JJJ leap. Desmond Bane will be back healthy, fully from the toe, and really help by training camp, ready to attack the season. The young guys between like Laravia and Roddy and Zaire. Someone's got to break out, right? Like someone has to for that starting role in the small forward spot. But there's a lot of there's new faces and a lot of former cornerstones are leaving. So I guess you don't really know how it's going to play out. Like I've seen the season predictions, like ESPN, I think has us in the play-in race, and I don't agree with that. But it's just we don't really know what direction this is headed in, and it's fun to speculate, right? But I think you see people on both ends of the spectrum. Some people are like, okay, the Grizzlies are just not going to be good this year. I feel like that happens every year. People are just not as high on the Grizzlies and they become kind of underrated. But then on the other side, people are like, okay, they're going to be same team, top of the West. And I personally, I don't know exactly where they stand, but I still think this team is going to win a lot of games because guys are coming back healthy that weren't healthy last year. And, basketball is a game of attrition. The healthiest team usually wins out. So I don't know where I stand, but I still think the Grizzlies are going to win a lot of games. That's where I stand.
I'll say something kind of controversial. I'm willing to use these 25 games without Ja, as my cat making an appearance in the background, as sort of the trial period that they need to be. I'm willing to not take them as seriously. And while saying that, I mean I'm willing to not care about being a top seed because, to be honest, being a top seed does not work for us. I don't think that home court matters for us. I don't care right now. Truly, I believe that we can't just be so focused on winning. We need to figure out the rotation that we're going to want in the playoffs. The only risk there, and just hear me out, is falling into the play-in, which is so naturally a fear if you're not chasing that top seed. I'm willing to bow out of the race for the top seed. You've got 25 games without your best player. You have Brandon Clark. You have not playing. You have Steven Adams, who everyone's being really weird and vague about. He's coming back, but what's going on with his knee? Don't really know. You have these gaps in your roster, figuring out, what wing guys are going to step up. Who's going to step up? We're not going to be a top seed this season, and I think that's good because, like I said, being a top seed has not worked for us. We're going to be good because we're going to be in a position where we're the underdogs. That's where they thrive. It's when, Ja Morant's out and they win all those games, not because they're better without Ja, but because they have a chip on their shoulder. Now, we're not going to have to listen to the ghost of Ja Morant saying, I'm fine in the West. Last season was truly a horror story, and it's hilarious because it was going so perfectly, so beautifully. And when everything flipped was that night, Shannon Sharpe and the Lakers. After that, I'm not kidding, I have pinned it down to that moment. It was a turning point. Everything started to go wrong. Literally, Brandon Clark went down, Ja stuff going on. Dylan becomes a national disaster. No, like it really went to shit. We are now in the ruins of this tornado. This I'm fine in the you hear Ja in the background. I'm fine in the West. You hear Dylan. I don't care. He's old. We shed that. Okay, Dylan, we love you. We will love your chaos from afar. You bring in Marcus Smart, right? Great player, great defender. Solves your problem there with losing Dylan's defense. He can guard, whatever position. He can guard the scorer. And he also can fill the point guard problem while Ja's out. The only thing is that that's asking him to do a lot. And he's also not going to be able to fill the offensive hole that Ja not being there is going to leave, which brings us to our fifth starter and pretty much everyone else, right? Kennard. I would love to have Kennard off the bench. Kennard is not an NBA starter. He should be off the bench. Right now, looking like he should probably be a starter. I don't like that. That's not great. Okay, bro, let's go to Conchar. He's proven, he's been at the same level for a minute now. I fear he's reached his ceiling. I think that this season is his chance. I think it's his last chance to say, hey, I've been here for a minute, guys. Like, am I going to step up and be that reliant roster guy, or am I just going to fall? Because if not, like, we're going to give those minutes. He needs to be more, he needs to shoot and he needs to make it. Like, if he can bring his shooting percent, he needs to be someone, that we can use. Like, his usage needs to go up, and it's just not right now. And then, you go to Roddy and Laravia, both guys that are, again, question marks. Zaire, a guy that a couple seasons ago, we were like, oh my God, climate change. Kleiman has done it again. But last season, we saw a very sad version of the player that we had grown confident in. It was sad. So, like, Ja, Jaren, Bane, if healthy, literally would stand on Mount Everest and, like, say they're the best trio in the league. Like, no, I'll get shit for that. But I'm so high on them. Like, if healthy, that's literally it. My only concerns are, like, health. Jaren, I would health. That's my concern. Bane, we talked about Bleacher Report earlier. The other day we were doing like a roundup. Did you see that thread on Twitter that was like, it was like, who are two NBA players that are similar in talent but have different reputations? And I thought that was cool. So I was like, let's do an IG roundup there. So I'm putting together the ones, and then I get to I wish again I could shout out the account. Let me know if you remember who posted it. But a Grizzlies account posted Bane and Beal.
Oh, Grizz Company Maine. Yeah.
Okay,
Grizz
shout
Company
out to
Maine.
them. And I included it in like it was the last slide on the carousel. All the top comments are like, they really tried to sneak Desmond Bane, and they're like, wow, the disrespect. And I was like, okay, I admit, like, maybe I took it a little too far. But again, like, that shows it's slightly delusion, but it's also enthusiasm. I truly think that the league has no idea how scary Desmond Bane is. Like, this is literally, he wasn't healthy in the playoffs. He wasn't healthy.
He hasn't had a healthy playoffs
for
a while. Because you got to consider this past playoffs, the toe. Last playoffs, he was dealing with a back injury of some kind, right? So the only last one that he's been truly healthy for was the Jazz series. So he hasn't had a healthy playoffs in like 2 seasons. So like, we haven't seen a fully unleashed Desmond Bane in this league, and that should scare people with his 3-level scoring ability.
Yeah, and I mean his scoring ability, but also just the way that he is able to like make up for his, lack of length, like his defense, everything. Like, I just think he is so good, and like, above all, I will let him shoot it every single time.
Every time.
And it's rare you have a player like that, and now we have 2 players like that really with Kennard. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was like, it's so funny. Remember when he went down in the playoffs last year, we were all like, there goes.
That's a wrap, man.
that showed the state of where we were at. But no, I mean, like, we know those guys, we love those guys. That's really, really important and special. But after them, and Jaren, like you mentioned FIBA, the minutes he's getting right now playing the 5, to me, are so important. And like, I've really loved what I've seen from him. Foul trouble, I'm so that's like a conversation that I literally am just like, whatever. Like, he's
I'm tired of people running away with that
yeah,
conversation and saying like Jared has limitations because of the fouls. Because
yeah,
look, this is his first ever FIBA World Cup experience. Like,
yeah,
there's gonna be growing pains. I'm tired of
yeah,
that. I'm just tired.
yeah. And like, he's just gotten so much more comfortable and confident with how like he was so, you know, kind of, what's the word? Just his movements were not as fluid, you know, his first cut. It was a little awkward sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was more so a concern, but he's gotten, you know, so much better there. And like, you need him at the rim. Like, that's what he's doing. He's defensive freaking player of the year for a reason. People hate that he was defensive player of the year. And again, great. Puts us in a position to prove everyone wrong. I'm so high on them three. But then, you know, Steven Adams, like, adore. But it seems like, you know, that's not someone that's probably going to be on our team. But right now, all that matters is right now, okay? But I thought we had a championship team 2 years ago. I thought that was a team that could have won the championship. Year we lose to Golden State. We didn't have it last year, and we don't have it this year, unless a lot shakes in our favor with injuries. And that's just a lot to
That's
ask.
the NBA. I mean, that's basketball.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yes.
have to be healthy to win. And
Yeah.
it's hard because Ja himself, right? Like, he had the hand last playoffs that he injured in the Milwaukee game, and then LA had that collision with AD. And I think what I really kind of despise about like the discourse about regarding over the Grizzlies is just that people take into account like this idea that like, okay, like these guys are really good, but like they don't take into account their ceiling. Like, I was looking, like, there are some lists posted, like top 10 guards heading into next season. Ja Morant was number 10, and then there was another list. I think it was top bigs under 25 with the highest ceiling. Jaren was number 5. I just don't think people realize the ceiling of the three core guys of Ja, Jaren, and Bane, and how good these guys can be. Because look, these guys are under the age of 25. I think Bane's 25, but they're not even close to their primes yet. Like why are we expecting them? First of all, why are we expecting them to be championship players right now? And also, why are we holding them to these unfair expectations and also saying that they're not capable of being these great players with what they've shown? If that makes sense.
Because they overachieved really quickly. Like, really quickly, they became a team, you know, that could get there. But also, like, when you go to the playoffs, there are going to be flaws that are exposed. Also, there's going to be teams that have that experience, you know, and that's why it's so important doing it right for multiple years. It's so rare that a team just like makes a run and gets that far. You know, you saw the Kings versus the Warriors. The Kings looked like the better team, right?
Yeah.
They were outplaying them, but the Warriors got them because of that experience, right? It was the Kings' first run. The Grizzlies have experienced that. This last year truly was a huge wake-up call for everyone, and it's kind of what they needed. I think we needed to fall off the cliff to start realizing, okay, let's pick things back up. You know, we were kind of going really fast, and it was like, is this attainable? Is this real? And we sort of had to take a step back and be like, let's look at what we have. Let's figure out what to do. Because like I said, regular season success is different than playoff success. What's so funny, you mentioned like our players being underrated by national media. What's so interesting in that discourse is how underrated Ja has almost become, which is so silly to say. And it's like, anyone who knows basketball knows who Ja is, but a lot of people are forgetting because of what has circulated the headlines with him for, you know, the last however many months. When you hear Ja Morant, you're not hearing it in a basketball context. And I think so many people are forgetting who he is. And it's like, y'all forgot that he's developing a shot too. You know what I mean? Like, do you like, he was letting those threes fly, like, and he was hitting them. I just think people have this like they're slowly shrinking him in their conversations, and I'm like, you can't do that because John Morant is a transcendent player. Like this guy, I mean, we talk about, at points that our conversations, oh, is Jaren the best player on the team? Is Steven, just Steven Adams the best player on the team? John Morant is the best player on that basketball team because John Morant is a type of talent you only see a few times in a generation. Like I truly believe that. And like what I'm just like, it's hard to even care about anything when like all that really matters is like him coming back stronger from all of this. And like I just hope he can, right? Like when all that was going down, like everyone kept asking me about it, whatever, and it's like I literally just want the best. You know what I mean? Like I want him to be I don't know him. I see all of the good he's done for Memphis. I see the way he has been thrown into this national spotlight, and he's wanted Memphis to be right there next to him. And like I said earlier with me, like Memphis, when you love Memphis, we will love you back. We will fight for you back. And that's what we're doing with Ja. Like, it's not like, oh, you've done this good stuff, but now you're, no, like, of course we stand with Ja. We don't co-sign all of his decisions, like, but we want the best for Ja. And like, that's what it comes down to, right? Like, I just really hope for his sake, because you grow to care about these guys, that everything doesn't get, to his head too much. And I hope he's able to come back stronger from this. So yeah, I think like the biggest thing this season, we can talk about who's going to be the 5th, 6th, 7th guy in our rotation, but the biggest thing in the season is Ja, because that's who's going to win you championships, and we need him. And I hope everything works out. I really do.
Look, if Derrick Rose, right, star point guard at Memphis, is attached to this community, like a hallmark of the Memphis community. If he and Marcus Smart, a championship pedigree player, has been to the finals, a guy who is we know how much of a bulldog Marcus Smart is in that locker room, and how he brings guys together, and how he gets guys in their place to play winning basketball. If those two can't teach Ja Morant how to be a more responsible point guard in this league, a better point guard in this league, how to handle himself better. And if those two can't do it, like, I don't know who else can. like I don't. I truly don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. People love Derrick Rose, right? I probably won't speak on Derrick Rose. I understand why people love him, but Marcus Smart, I truly believe should be that. Sorry, that was so ominous. Sometimes I question if people know everything about Derrick Rose when they talk about him being a great influence in the locker room. But at the same time, some of those things don't impact how someone is in the locker room. Also, from a basketball standpoint, I'm really interested in Derrick Rose, because it's like, is he going to contribute anything? Because we kind of need him to, don't we? But like at the same time, we don't. But I'm really interested to see, with Ja out, if he's just the backup point guard, and they're not, meddling with lineups, they're not throwing Kennard or whatever, trying to mix things up. I'm interested to see if Derrick Rose can produce meaningful minutes in the year of 2022. So
it's hard because
2023 for whatever we're in.
I get that mixed up all the time, just because the seasons they kind of intertwine with each other with the new year. But look, Derrick Rose, right, on the Knicks, he went to the bench, but I don't know if it was because of basketball reasons, because the Knicks have Jalen Brunson, who's coming to his own as a star in this league, and we know the fit's going to be awkward with two smaller guards, and Quickly was also having a great year too, and so Rose went to the bench. But I've always held that Rose can get you buckets. He's not a shooter, right, but he can get to the rim very effectively. He's still a pretty athletic point guard. I think off the bench, like, of course, he's not going to be Tyus' best turnover to assist ratio 5 straight seasons, but like he can bring you a spark off the bench.
Yeah.
And especially without Ja, you need someone who can do that for you at the point guard position, aside from Marcus Smart, who we know is most likely going to occupy that space. But yeah, it's hard because like I don't know if like the staff sees him now. I don't know if the staff sees him as like, okay, this guy's just he's gonna be a very key contributor, or he's gonna be, just like a locker room presence,
Yeah, it's so funny. And now, like, as you talk about this, I can so see already this like night in the FedEx Forum, Derrick Rose randomly dropping like 38 and it just being like, wait a minute, is Derrick, like, I just see that happening because something funny and something that's going to happen in these first 25 games is like weird stuff's going to happen because it's so experimental and everything is always weird when the Grizzlies have people out because someone steps up and it's never you think's going to step up. I mean, like, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. And, I'm excited to see how everything plays out because I think that I'm not really going into this season with nerves or high expectations, which is probably a good thing because I was going to the playoffs feeling great, right?
Yeah.
And we see how that turned out. So
the Lakers were just the worst possible matchup for the Grizzlies.
That series never happened. Like it just didn't happen. We don't have to.
It didn't happen.
But yeah,
look in this group and in the group, right? Like we know Jaren and Bane are going to be Jaren, Bane, Smart, Adams. Hopefully, we hope are going to be leaders,
right?
In this bench rotation of guys, who do you have anyone in mind of being an X factor? Kind of like Santi last year. He took a huge leap. Like he started in place of Jaren coming back from that meniscus injury and, just really came onto the scene as showing he could be a high level contributor in the NBA. Do you think there's anyone on this Grizzlies team right now who is primed to take that leap next season into like, oh, this guy might surprise us and help the Grizzlies win basketball games?
I said that was going to be Zaire last season, so I think I'm like banned from like saying that ever. No, but I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier when I said that there are just so many question marks that I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, yes, this guy. But you know what? I'll throw a dagger at the board. Roddy. I think we saw really good things from Roddy last season. We started to feel at points like he could have a spot in the rotation, right? Roddy goes to the playoffs. It's your first time in the playoffs, right? Like you're not going to, so you're not going, like it's all, the game is on a different level, all of a sudden, like it's just not going to cut it what you're doing. I'm excited to see his game expand. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean, I know Laravia played pretty well in summer league.
He was more aggressive, just more aggressive as a player. Like that like edge that wasn't really there in his rookie year. Had some injuries, but that aggression was there in summer league, like up close and personal from what I saw. So
which is great to see. I mean, I hope that Zaire can really. I would really hate to see that not work out because we saw flashes of what was a really, really promising player. And I was a big fan of his game. I loved what he provided. I loved the quickness, the athleticism, but also like the corner three, deadly. I feel like there were so many aspects of his game that were good. He has the length, so I'm hoping that works out, but it's a lot of weird question marks. I think like I can't sit here and be like, yeah, this guy's gonna step up, we're gonna see. And I said, I'm very much willing. There's not gonna be an answer day one, game one. Like there's just not. We're gonna have to try different things out. Like I said, the youth is hitting us and we have to deal with that now. We have to sit here and it's not our job, coach, Hyman, everyone has to really sit back and say, use these 25 games because that's when you can do it, right? That's when you're just not, there's no expectation, there's no anything. But then after that, it's kind of time to get serious. So hopefully by then we have an answer, which is funny because it's like then everything changes, right? And Smart maybe gets slid out of the role, that he's in. We'll see. There's so many up in the air. But yeah, I think like we pretty much covered everything, man. I feel like it's a weird season, but yeah.
Interesting question here that I just got in the chat. Who do you see being our biggest headaches in the West?
God, I have not thought that far ahead. I mean, it's a good question. I guess I'm fine in the West. No. I guess it's always gonna be the Warriors, always,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Are you still high on the Warriors this year?
No, but they're a problem for us
Okay.
because they hate us. And Steph
Yeah.
Curry, and
True.
he's Steph Curry.
Yeah.
The Kings young team. I'm really interested to see the Pelicans,
Yeah.
what they can do
Healthy.
this season, healthy, which like if they're able to be healthy, I don't even know if that's possible. I mean, the West is always stacked, right? Like I think
Yeah.
the East though is probably the conference that I'm like the most afraid of. I think that like there's a lot of teams in the West that are, going to be a problem, but the East is just where I see when I think like, okay, like finals, who's going to win it? East teams come to mind, which is interesting because it wasn't always like that.
Okay. Really? I see my biggest question mark in the East is, of course, like Philadelphia with the whole James Harden having I don't know what right now, like just kind of a mini bender that's kind of really entertaining. But
Yeah.
I Boston, of course, they're always gonna be there.
Yeah.
Boston, I feel like Boston is just that one team besides Denver that just the Grizzlies never have an answer for. Like no matter what, every single game, Boston is just gonna shoot the lights out on the Grizzlies. They're going to get everything they want. And Ja even said in that interview, like, the Celtics, like that's who I see as the team in the East.
Trust
Miami.
me, Brandon. I know it's ingrained in my brain, bro.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard too because this season a lot of things are going to change, right? In the sense of the in-season tournament, like, how do we feel about that? Like,
Yeah.
no,
It's like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be fun, but like, what do we care if like they get paid? Like, okay,
yeah,
it doesn't. It's like congrats. I mean, I think they might be giving it to charity. That would be cool. I don't really know. I haven't read up on it because I'm just kind of like, I don't really care. But yeah,
so there's just a lot of things changing, just in general, right? And the Grizzlies, we know, are still going to be at the forefront. They're going to keep being the hunted, right? But Jaren and Bane have said, like, we're going to dial back the talking a little bit this year, focus on the main goal, which is getting these guys together and
they
winning.
Should because they got humbled.
Absolutely,
they should. They talked and then they weren't ready to back it up. So yeah.
I want to touch on this while I have you too. How do we feel about coaching, right? Because the staff made some changes. Patrick St. Andrews came in from the Milwaukee Bucks, and they hired Anthony Carter, who I believe was formerly the player personnel director for the Miami Heat. So that's going to have some changes. So what are your thoughts on just Grizzlies coaching going into next season?
I have none. I mean, I can't speak for those people. I can speak for Taylor Jenkins. I feel like Taylor Jenkins has been under the hot seat. He was specifically under it end of last season. It's so interesting because I think he's had several moments throughout his career where it's like, if this had happened, he'd be done. If we get swept, if the Warriors years ago won that game when he didn't challenge that call, right? Like there are just sometimes things. And then there are the questions, why is he letting Dillon Brooks in the game when Dillon Brooks is that out of control offensively?
Yep.
For me, that was my biggest issue. Yeah, we can talk about rotations. I am a believer that like a lot of the time the coach knows what's best. His rotations have never killed me. At points, I got frustrated because I wished he had played, Kennard in certain lineups that he didn't play him in. But like that wasn't what killed us. I was just so frustrated because I was like, how is this allowed to be happening? How are you allowing him to be in the game if he is being this irresponsible offensively? That was it was my issue 2 years ago, and it was my issue last season. I remember saying the same thing in the Minnesota series 2 seasons ago. So I like Taylor. I really like him.
Yeah.
And I think most importantly, our players like him because
Yes.
that's what matters. So like,
Yeah.
as long as that's the case, then I'm good with it, because it's hard sometimes to get that good relationship between and the trust between the star players and the coach. And it seems like, Ja and him have that. So
Absolutely.
he seems like a great guy also, like above anything. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Taylor. I'm not, I haven't been on the fire Taylor Island, although sometimes he has me screaming my head off, but every
Yeah.
coach does. So
Yeah. I think important season for him coming up. I think he
definitely
needs to prove that he is not just like a regular season, just dominant coach. He's got to prove it in the playoffs, right? And the team hasn't always been healthy. We'll give him that. Like, he hasn't had his front court healthy this past playoffs. Last season, Ja went out, but I think this is the season he's got to prove, okay, this isn't just a great regular season team. We can get it done deep in the postseason. And that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to watch. Before I let you go, I do have one last question for you. Is this the year Desmond Bane finally becomes an all-star?
Yes.
Love
Yeah. I'm not gonna say no. Oh, what do I look like, a hater? Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All-star.
Yeah. While admitting, yes, the competition really, like, the West guards are. Man, there's a reason Mike
Also
Conley
needs to
can
be
never break through.
positionless.
Yeah, needs to be positionless. I've been, man.
Yeah.
You're leading the charge, and I feel like, look, this has got to be. Too many guys are just getting snubbed every year because, like, they're just so strict about, 2 backcourt spots, 3 frontcourt spots. Like, let the best players in the game.
It's like,
no matter
you're gonna
what.
have centers, you're gonna have big guys, and like, it doesn't matter. It's the all-star game. No one actually cares about the outcome. Put the best players in it, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Molly, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was just really great to have someone that, like, I know from my childhood here. Really great feeling, and really great to see you just on this national platform doing the amazing things that you do. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, Molly runs social for Bleacher Report. You can catch her amazing.
It's not
content.
just me. So if you see anything anti-Grizz, or it's not me.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
I'm on a team.
Acknowledging, yes, it is a team. It's not just her, folks. So yeah, anything anti-Grizzlies is not Molly.
Never.
Like, she's on a team. Never.
No,
Molly,
I'm not kidding. I refuse to post. Like, even the news John Morant shares, I was like, no, you can post that. Like, I'm not posting it. Anyways, Brandon, this was so much fun. I am so proud of all of what you're doing. It was so lovely to talk. Literally, anytime you want to have me on, I'm more than happy to join.
Thank you.
Sorry,
I had that, like, I remember, like, when I was like, when I sent you the message asking to come on, I'm like, man, like, is she ever gonna see this? Like, she's got like over 100K followers, like, super big now. Is she even gonna see this message? Like, but
I've been seeing it.
Really, really, really appreciate it, Molly. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, this was great. Go Grizz.
Absolutely. Thank you guys, Molly, for coming on to the show. Again, you can catch her on Bleacher Report. But thanks so much, Molly.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks. And folks, that is the end of Grizz 901, end of the broadcast tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another special shout out to Molly Morrison for coming on to the show today. Like I said, you can catch Molly on Bleacher Report, and you can also catch more FIBA World Cup action as the Grizzlies will be playing, not the Grizzlies, sorry, said that again. The Team USA will be playing tomorrow morning at 3:30 Central. If you wake up for that, Spain at 8:30 Central. But that's it for Grizz 901. That's also it from me. I'd like to thank all you guys for tuning in with me during the month of August. Also, thank you so much to Daniel and Nathan for giving me this platform, this guest spot for the month. Thank all those guys. I'm sure their wives are going to thank them too. Side joke, but until then, guys, you guys know what it is. Keep grinding, Grizz Nation. Thank you guys for tuning in to Grizz 901.